Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. All praise due to the Lord of worlds. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As a human being that considers that all of us are inside a system, and that we're all inside an existential system, a system of existence. And recently it has come to my attention that very realistically that there is the presence of an existential system administrator. The idea that we are created beings, that in all areas of our life we are seeking administration of a systematic nature. I want to begin with saying that I don't know, God knows, yet I am a human being that wants to give a briefing and a feedback report on my experience as a human being and why this sentence, or what sort of moment is it when the soul smiles at the mind and body. And why is it important to reorganize our fears so that we only fear the Creator, which is a suggestion that you must trust the created, because the uncreated is managing. So I want to say that being a human being, before, when the reality of God, when God was the experience, when I wasn't convinced that God was here, it was as if I was stranded on an island, as if 8 billion creatures were stranded on a galactic island, on a cosmic island. But now it is not the case. It is more like existence has been this giant system, this vast system. And this system has members, moderators, and a singular administrator. We are not people on earth only. We are souls inside a divine system. Systems have admins. Admins do what is best for the system. I personally don't believe anything worldly can come close to God. Excuse me, when I say come close to God, I mean nothing in the world can be equal to that which created the world. Simply, the reason for this is, if you were to, as a metaphor, for the sake of a metaphor, imagine an artist, okay, drawing an artwork, or a novelist, an author writing a novel. what you would notice is that the characters in the novel, the colors of the artwork, are not the creator. The human being's connection to divinity is that we are privileged by being in the presence of it. And the reason I'm speaking about God is because the sooner 8 billion creatures on a rock realize that there is the presence of an original power, of an original energy, that this original energy has extended forth moderators, yet you can directly communicate to the system administrator. After making clear to you that no person can be God, or let me rephrase it, no form, no limited form can be the limitless, because it's a paradox. When the species has the capacity to acknowledge the existential system administrator, it means you're not on an island, you are inside a company. You are enlisted by divine decree. One manner of looking at life is that a slow, gradual development. The other is, in some sense, to see a very advanced ranking system. It is the closeness to God. You see, in Islam, there was something very strange yet fascinating mentioned. I believe it's in the hadith, maybe. What it is was that the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, had mentioned something in the lines of animals like cats and dogs. They will all turn into dust on Judgment Day. Now, there was a very strange similarity here as a modern individual to that of when a person completes a video game, all the NPCs return as if they were never there. When you play a video game on a console, right, and then you turn off the console, it's as if the existence that existed never existed. We are souls. Let's get with the program. So, why would a human being find themselves in a moment, as the title explains? You see, it has to do with being able to find a moment where you're observing your existence. You're observing your physical body existing right now. You're observing your mind, whatever you think you are existing right now. And if you find a moment of pause, you will notice that if in a multiple choice scenario, you have an ability to choose between different options, before you choose, that which is choosing is the soul. You see, the mind was an addition. What that means is old school view, soul enters matter. Modern view, soul enters matter and has a mind, and we don't know if the soul's there. It's like the mind is eclipsing the soul, the true light of our being. You know, I'm gonna step out of talk mode and just talk to you like a person who's been on earth for a while. It is very clear to me that there is an unknown force administering reality. I see it everywhere. I see it in how a bird moves its head. I see it in how cars at an intersection, dodge each other by millimeters. I see it, when a child falls but doesn't fall in a way that it hurts itself. You see, I see that there is something here that values itself. And if you do not value yourself, at least there is an authority that values you without even you knowing how. Because you have been designed, you are a creature in a world. It doesn't, like, at least as far as we know, it doesn't get more real than this. The pain you feel, the pleasure you feel, the suffering, the anxiety, the nervousness, the chaos, the order, it is all in the reality of the participation of an intelligence. Your soul is the source of your intelligence, authored by that which is uncreated. You see, I am not just a human being talking now. I am a soul created by that which is uncreated. There is no greater honor than to have a foot out of the door of the world that is temporary. Oh dear humanity, it's as simple as waking up and being like, oh, I'm somewhere. Whose house am I in? Whose world am I in? Does the world belong to me? Do I belong to myself? Can an idea own matter? And that is when you see that the simulation was never that convincing. The greatest advantage, there was something in our culture has conditioned us. It has made God something to ignore, something to bypass, as if, that guy freaked out, forget that. It wasn't a freak out. It was an incident that in some sense echoed in all cultural dynasties that followed after, because it acknowledged the epitome of the system of hierarchical conceptualization. Where can man go? I don't consider myself as the smartest person on this planet, but I was smart enough to wonder, to look at this world and be like, everybody's so concerned about where they are now, what they have now, but we have been lied to. We are never in the now. We are always heading to the future, and the future is existing to us in our mind as a version, and existing in how it will actually happen upon the system administration. I want you to imagine that you are working from the moment you are conscious. You are working in the presence, not only just in the presence, you are working in a divine company. You just don't know who the boss is. And because you can't see the boss, because the owner of the business is not in the business, the employee is going insane. When will I come to meet the source? But if the employee has faith, does its job, at some point the boss will come to check. But religion is more merciful than that. God's grace, the way God has been explained, it has not been explained as a shape for you. It's been explained as conduct. It was the behavior of man. And it was what man could notice that elevated us from the status of just a bewildered beast. You see, there are levels of the same game. Let me tell you how I found a moment where my soul was smiling at my mind and body, because it was a moment I realized whatever my body does, the candle wax will melt. Whatever my mind does, it will flicker. And it was a moment where I was watching my own existence as if I was seeing the beauty of a candle flame, on a late night balcony when you're a writer. You see, we are blessed with system administration. I wondered, I thought the burden was to try to convince a species to all become advanced versions of themselves in advanced worlds, versions of the world that they see, until all these advancements connected in the future. I thought that was the game plan, but I realized no. The game plan has changed. Coach is telling, the players a new strategy. That means the general has returned, and in some sense, new battle plans. Before we run towards advancing communication to then advancing civilization, we must first acknowledge the most advanced position. The most advanced position is beyond the world, and so far to man's knowledge, there is a very singular system. There's like a system that says only follow that which is beyond the world. If you are in the world, you're bound to worshiping self, others, or the world. 3 options. It's either what you are being, what others are being, or what everything is being. But what I'm telling you, not what everything is being, how everything is being. Let me give you an example. I've been through all 3. I've been through all 3 stages. So what would an example of self-worship look like? Self-worship would look like as if I'm the fucking boss. Everybody shut the fuck up. That's self-worship. Self-worship could be as simple as, I'm such a good person, I don't understand why bad things happen to me. Still as disgusting as is still self-worship. Then you have others worship. The person's like, no, I have no value. Let me at least treat others with value. You're worshiping others. This is going to be a very difficult talk I'm going to have with my, let's say future wife in the future, where I'm going to be like, sweetie, whatever happens, the origin of the realm that our consciousness is being tested in. You see, for the body, yes, I'm just this physical, handsome podcaster, Well, but when it comes to the mind, okay, I'm this person who can envision, far-fetched probabilities to the human's shape of civilization. Okay, but when I think about the life of my soul, do you know what that means? That means, as if imagine someone who's wearing a suit that has to go to an important boardroom meeting, but because it was a good day, they decided to take a bus, and then someone at the bus stop wants to talk to them for an hour. It's like the person is in that discussion for an hour, you know, respectfully to all moments of life. You see, you are like an inferior being if you need specific reasons to be a certain type of being. You are more superior kind of being if you have principles of superiority which administer the psyche. Religion gives that, but religion takes something which I never thought was necessary until it happened. I do not believe a person can be religious if they are not sincerely bowing to that which is beyond them. And this was difficult for my ego, you know, but I found myself in a moment on this earth where I felt imprisoned. You know, there was this character in a video game, which I actually dislike playing this champ in this video game called League of Legends, but it was this character called Silas who had been chained for so long that he had started using his chains as weapons. I felt I was chained to an inevitable anti-freedom. I felt, okay, I put the effort. I stayed true, yet it was not enough. What did I miss? Constantly going back, what did I miss? What did I miss? And then I realized what I had missed. And it broke me. I had missed out on truth because I was too busy carrying the banner of my own in this war of the abyss, this war in the abyss. And that moment where I prayed, where I bowed, where I was like, God, I don't know what to do anymore. Solve this. And I bowed. And because my left knee has problems, I bowed on a bed. I was on a bed and I was like bowing. And in that moment, when my forehead just hit the bed, I literally just had this deep exhale, and I let go of the responsibility of my own destiny, and I just became reverted into this simplicity that became the same watcher of life that I had been before I had gained a personality. I let go of the complexity of the responsibility of a shaped self in an infinite landscape. And I was like, you created this, then solve it. And I believe. And after that moment, everything in life started to change. Because I had freed my future self from the suffering and the anxiety I had for it now. That means when you pray, you free your future self because it is not in your administration. My free will, think about it. Free will is here for as long as you are conscious in the body. Think about it. That means using free will to administer life is a temporary management. And as we swim in the direction of this river, suddenly, one by one, 8 billion swimmers realize if they stop swimming, they're still going where they're meant to, where they were heading. You know, I remember being a kid in grade 4, and having a sense of like what the principal felt at a school, you know? And now that I'm religious and I'm Muslim, it feels like God, the principle, is always here. I feel I am not alone because the origin, the cause of this effect we are being now has never gone anywhere. God is a changeless dimension. We are changing beings. And you wonder why. It's important to be aware. Let me tell you something. I created this Discord server and I was the admin, and I experienced like around 30 members joining this Discord server and also some of the members becoming moderators, and those who became moderators, the way I had decided was that was because of their engagement and fascination with the worldly. The idea is either you go beyond this world or you stay in this world and you become a moderating aspect of it. But that's not the best approach. The best approach is going directly to the system admin. So think as if when I had that Discord server, you know, people were joining the Discord server because of the name, because it was associated to the Mr.Within YouTube channel. And I was the admin, and there were moderators and there were members. And it was a remarkable experience because I realized that the members could act, the moderators could act like administrators to the members, and the members could believe that they were administrators, but the administrator truly knew who was an administrator. When I say contact the existential system administrator, I am saying go directly to God. Do not go to a form or anything worldly. Go direct to God. That means you need help, call directly the manufacturer. Success comes from being able to acknowledge where we are. The excuse that God doesn't exist has made us ignore the original central connection to life. Faith means trusting the system. Contacting the system admin is something that I enjoyed when I ran that Discord server. I was actually waiting for members to contact the system admin, right, of the Discord server. So now I'm saying God is beyond human, you know, and the notion is to honestly contact, they say, for any problems, contact the manufacturer. Religion is saying if you have no clue where you are and you are somewhere, the smartest move is to figure out who it belongs to. Just because it doesn't belong to a physical being. Like, sure, we as human beings have the concept of real estate, but real estate means nothing when it comes to time. That means in the Mahabharata, time was the narrator, and time, in some sense, doesn't give a shit. Excuse my language, but time is like, you invented something, inventor? All right, let's see how it does in 1 billion years from now, kiddo. And the inventor's like, time, relax, bro. Is this gonna help some people? Some beings, And so it's our effort. The problem with logic is that it can be classed. It's like, see, when you open your eyes in this world, you get a value proposition. And so it's up to you how you, in some sense, receive this value proposition, right? So when like right now, my eyes are open, and if somebody's like, Mr. Within, all right, what's the value proposition you see? I see that, all right, I'm in my 30s. Let's give it like 60 more years, right? But let's say like 30 more years. And so it's as if what I see, the value proposition is, oh, candle in a dark room, how bright do you want to shine? And do you want to understand that the light that you thought was just the wick of the candle is actually an electric light bulb, right? Like the metaphor's transforming through the passage of seconds, And ultimately, as a person, you just get tired. You get tired of existence. But it's administrations, like, at least, the world, like, imagine this, like, you know what it is? I think really when a person's a child, the child is thinking in generalities. Like when let's say the child, people don't want to play with the child like other kids, right? The child's like, why doesn't the world want to play with me? Do you see? It's like a collective. It's like the whole thing. Then we somehow get pushed into our survival being in the specifics. I think what would advance humanity, and this is one person's opinion, and God knows the ultimate reality. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. I am just from a physical level, I am atoms. Dear listener, I am the electrical synapses. I am a form. I am a creature. I am an entity entitled to a certain domain of reality. And once I tried to go beyond this domain, what I found there was beyond what we could do on Earth. God's decree is superior to millions of hours of hard effort and work, to millions of hours of calculation, how things happen, how this massive system where there's 8 billion points of attention. At least one thing that comforts me, like when I look at people, when I go for walks, when I look at people outside, it comforts me to know that other souls are present in the vicinity of existence. But what baffles me is the lack of questioning, the lack of wonder. You know, they're like, has the educational system failed us? Yeah, the moment the kids stopped asking questions because it wasn't cool. That's the death of humanity. Okay, that's taking it a little too far. That's not the death of humanity. I hope it's not just when I'm an old man, but some global community how can I say it, guys? I'm a person who can see a better version of all civilization, and I can also see that there's an administrator that knows that has access to the unimaginable. So I'm chilling here, being a human being and being like, okay, everything is in God's hands, but I still have my own hands, and so what is the task at hand? What must be handled about this candle situation we're in? It is time for 8 billion flickering candle flames to shine with the brightness, with the might of 10,000 suns in the presence of the Almighty. That means, you know what you are? You are a soul being in the greatest test known to manifestation. Our suffering is meaningless. Our lives are like, living in the shadows of what we could have been. Oh, humanity, you are performing in the presence of the solution of solutions, God Almighty, the one and only. I am saying this as a singularian. There may come a time where in the future, these lectures may be studied. God willing, if God wills it. And to leave like certain footnotes for those in the future who might listen to this. Guys, the human species, upon realizing the levels to its being, realize there's a level called the soul. The soul is that part of one's being that is aware of all of it. But when the soul questions, what am I working with here? It notices that it's working with a subjective projection system simultaneously as there's a biological existential, biological active system. So what I'm trying to tell you is that existence is existing, we are existing, but we notice we are existing Because we notice we're existing, we can notice ourselves existing in different ways. Therefore, being able to notice ourselves existing in different ways is where how imagination is applicable to the human being. So imagination is how the soul was more than the body. So the mind is in some sense the hand of the soul.
Yeah, that means your heart also.
It's amazing because I feel the Lord of Worlds is watching, the one and only. That which is beyond worldly shape. They're like, yo man, do you worship a God? You know? And I'll be like, I worship the God that is uncreated. If it's uncreated, it is beyond shape. If truth is beyond shape, what shape can you show me that convinces me? You see, in one lifetime, we are getting the experience of being a body. We're getting the story of being a character in a story that if we write the story, we're worshiping ourselves. If others write the story, we're worshiping others. If we realize it is beyond form, it means that which is beyond the world is more important. It could imply that this world is like the lobby and the main rooms are awaiting us. You know, and so the best stance that the soul can have in a world is to be an explorer or a rememberer. A rememberer with EUR at the end. I'm just creating, philosophical language just out of the blue. A rememberer is someone that in some sense, like an entrepreneur starts a business, they initiate an ultimate remembrance. That means it's equivalent to imagine having your future self shouting at you, remember who you are, remember you who you are. And you're like, oh my God, in my past life, I was my future self because all started from God and it returns to God. And when souls were in Alam al-Arwah, there was in some sense a ranking system. And that's when you arrive in this world, what you are drawn towards suggests your rank. So if you're drawn beyond the world, you are of that rank. If you are drawn to what's in the world, you become that rank. There is moment where a person, it may be born like a soul with a certain rank. Think of it this way. Imagine, I mean, this is bizarre, but excuse me, not bizarre. This is like, this is not, I'm not speaking as an authority on Islam, and forgive me, but the idea is important. And what I'm trying to say that it's as if souls enter this world and they have ranks, but their ranks are in accordance to the realities they're in. So they automatically gravitate towards that. Right? So it's the rank of that soul, right? And what that soul has access to, right? So I'll give you an example. If you are someone and you go into a community and you are hated by that community, your soul is a different rank. If you go into a community and you are loved by that community, your soul is of that rank. Now, these ranks are not man known because the soul is the secret of God. But man has aql, intellect. And so what is the value of wielding intellect? And the way through, as a Muslim, I can explain to you, is that you are being tested for your quality of noticing where you actually are. That suggests your rank as well. You know, there was a time where I was spiritual and my mind would classify things in super abstract ways, sometimes even birthing systems, as if my mind had found a way, to take light from a dying star and to create new ones in the inner realms. Do you know? I was recycling dying stars into, next level probabilities of inner sight. But what but what I'm trying to tell you is that I feel right now I am inside, just like a person in a military. I've never been to the military. I've heard stories, and one of my cousins is in the military, and he's a very amazing person, you know. But that's how life is now. So the rank I have is, when I don't ask my mind what are you worth, like, yo man, a billionaire, I'd be like, no, a billionaire, that's, rebuilding civilization, it's like, no, that's not what you're worth. What is your soul worth? And when I went to look for the value of my own soul, there was nothing in the worshiping of myself. We are technically a masterpiece if we were created by the master of all peace, by the authority beyond shape. That is what faith means. You realize that you are not the main character. That's what prayer means. That's what religion means. That's what, when you bow your head, it's as if you are saying, okay, O you, O might that is beyond me, O Lord of worlds, O original source power that everything in existence knows your name, knows your code, knows your command. O author of the great story that has permitted its characters to even start telling stories and be authors, but not ever to the caliber of the Almighty. You see, it's that feeling, that I'm not the greatest in the room. It's the feeling that I am in the presence of greatness, a greatness beyond the world. And that is the conclusion of exploring this earth box. I don't know. God truly knows the effort that souls put out of all the human beings that live, the effort to get close to the right path. That means religion is such an advanced system that in a world where people are like, yo, life could be whatever you want it to be, the religion's like, buddy, it's a door with a specific key. The key is to acknowledge the system admin. The admin is here, closer to you than your jugular vein. Closer to you then how, the space between, the subparticles in an atom. I am telling you, there is a might. It surpasses truth or not. It is what is happening at what intensity. Oh, la ilaha illallah. There is no God but God. Mr. Within honors all of God's creation. Do you know? I'm someone who, from a non-dualistic spirituality, has kind of reverted, and it was as if, like, do you know what it was? I said it to my brother like this the other day. It was like I was preparing for a battle. God was like, it was like I felt like I was a warrior training every day. Like, imagine a swordsman training with the sword every day, becoming a master swordsman, and then suddenly there was no war. That means they're like, sit back, sit down, soldier. It's not your turn. Not that it's not your turn. It's like God was like, buddy, I'm in command. Relax. And I was like, yes. And just like that Persian kid, shy Persian kid in the classroom, I looked down at my desk and appreciated the woodwork. What is life? It's an opportunity to work alongside the greatest intelligence. We are being tested. When you wake up, if you wear a suit, when you straighten out that suit, just raise your hands in the air, acknowledge that you're not performing in front of important big investors, you're performing in front of the most important authority. That's what it is. I'm saying that as a human being, as a Muslim, God first. That's the advice. Then, once you have faith, then we're in a domain where we can speak. And in that domain where we can speak, we're like, okay, let's say 8 billion human beings were right. All right, God is here. All praise to God. Now what do we do? So the next thing we do is that we think about human conduct, and we begin systems all over the planet, initiatives where people are like, I've had it with how slow stuff is updating, for the love of God, right? Like, please update the civilization we're in, right? How am I not sitting on a floating chair right now? How the F are wheels not obsolete? Do you know? And so, through blessed boredom, human beings are just going to be like, all right, nobody's doing it. I got to do it. I see it. I can do it. I'm going to do it. And we update civilization, and we do it gracefully. What Gandhi's life taught the political, all students in, political studies, right, was simply this. I smile when I notice that existence is existing. And I smile even when I know it's existing in the presence of the Creator. So I'm like a character in a novel, and the author's still writing the novel. Every day when I see people move, it's like the novel's being written. And I'm still in the novel. Like, how cool is that, right? And I have the privilege to speak to people that I may never know. They're like, all right, we'll let you communicate to the whole world, but we're not going to let you communicate to the world. And I was like, and they're like, okay. But honestly, I'm blessed to have stepped out of shirk. Shirk means, they say don't work. Shirk means worshiping anything other than the one singular absolute God, right? And you know how I was doing shirk? By not noticing God and just thinking it's just me here. That was shirk. So I was worshiping myself because I was like, okay, man, I'll be cool and I'll, wear the shades of the agnostic, I'll wear this sunglasses like an agnostic and I'll be like, I don't know, bro, But there is the intelligent presence here, so mind your manners, folks. And the best way to conduct yourself is that the moment you wake up, or at least once a day, just do this, right? And I will tell you, there is no faster success. Just try it out. Sincerely. I was forced to do it because I was becoming imprisoned by my own incompleteness. It's like I was living as a self, but I was watching myself die every day. Because I had the wrong context. Fish are in an ocean. And minds are in the presence, souls are in the presence of God. But God is beyond the ocean. That means I just feel like standing. When I was younger, life was like about being playful and like, ha ha ha, climbing trees and, doing silly things, right? And then life has become so serious where I'm like, oh my God, I feel like, I'm in presence of a royalty beyond the world. That means it's like, do you understand? That means when you see a person pray and bow, right? I'm not talking about Japanese culture, which honestly, I think it, let's just say that's not counted as a real bow. And let's say when a human being bows, they are saying, forgive me, my creator. Forgive me, system admin. I'm new to this system. What should I do? Help me out. And faith is that moment when you're actually waiting to see if it's real. And when it happens in ways you can't imagine, out of nowhere, then you'll be like, oh, okay, Mr.Within, I see what you're saying, that there's a system admin here. So the soul smiles at the body and mind in a way that it's like, look at it, they're all under divine decree. How I am, who I am, what I say, what I can, all under divine decree. So I feel part of a very advanced system. A system of creation by a creator so advanced, the created cannot fathom it. That means it's beyond storytelling modalities. What will happen? Respectfully, not as if, but as God watches me speak now, as a human being, with my faith only to God, I will explain to you what I perceive. And what I see happening to the human being is that it's going to biologically get tired. And in its biological fatigue, it's going to seek release. So what happens to a weak world? The weak get crushed. But how do they get crushed? They get crushed by their own ignorance. By what could have been but was never attempted. I became a simple person. The future is in the hands of God, but my ability to envision what I can do, that's in my domain. And I am in God's domain. So believe it or not, it's like you go into someone's house and you're like, yo, this is a nice house, nice mansion. Whose mansion is it? So similarly, if you were to just like ask, let's say a blue jay on a tree, you know, whose world is this? The blue jay would fly straight to the sky. By acknowledging God's presence, by acknowledging the creator of the created as the creator, we put ourselves in a force, not a force field, but we have faith in our admin. That means imagine back in the day, a medieval kingdom, do you know? Like this village at war. But you know, all the soldiers who, you know, were enlisted in the army belonged to that village, so they had all gone home, including even a general. And so when that village was attacked, it's as if in that moment nobody cared about, yo, I want to be this rank, that rank. They were like the existential event. We have to attend. Everybody just in position and go forth and with faith. Do you see? So that's the thing, right? It's like after some point, maturity is kind of accepting that the uncontrollable is in the administration of that beyond the human control, right? And it's not that I have this attitude is that God is on my side, but I have this attitude that as an existence, as a created soul, what original power do I belong to? And so I acknowledge that power, singular beyond any story, any form can tell. God is the only, you know, crevice of, you know, when the poet Rumi says there's a secret freedom through a crevice you can barely see, in a crevice you can barely see. So that crevice we can barely see is the archetype that cannot be in the world, but is the ultimatum of it. Thank you for listening. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of Worlds. And I should have probably spoken about fear. The idea is that you should only fear the Creator. You should only ask for help from the Creator, right? And have faith, and then live life and see what happens. So that initial connection is key. Establishing a link with the existential system administrator, and the moderators are unnecessary. Why? Because the system admin is testing the members by creating the moderators. So if the moderator's like, yeah man, do this in the system, but you this whole time can contact the existential system admin and be like, what should I do? Like, you see, like, It's not that the communication comes directly, but I'm just saying that have faith, like trust the administration of that which is beyond your control. And because you were created by that which is beyond the world, also trust yourself, but don't worship yourself. So when somebody has an ego where somebody's like, yo, I'm everybody look at me, that's like, okay, like self worship syndrome, right? If somebody's like, yo, man, you're the greatest, you're the best, da, 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 I'd be like, okay, thank you. But you notice you're a soul, I'm a soul, God's greater than everybody, right? So the notion has to be that we're all equal, right? Let's go, let's God. We use the intellect, we fathom, we honor the greatest, we function in the greatest way in the presence of the greatest. Thank you.